On the morning of September 14th, 2025, the quiet calm of Russell Avenue North in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was shattered by a brutal act of domestic violence. The victim, 34-year-old Mariah Rosanna Samuels, a loving mother of two, was gunned down outside her home in broad daylight. Mariah had been desperately seeking protection from her former partner, 50-year-old David Wright, a man with a long history of violent crimes and previous restraining orders. Despite filing reports, obtaining a protective order, and following every safety step advised by authorities, the system failed her. Moments before her death, at 7:45 a.m., Mariah posted a chilling message on Facebook, warning that she was being stalked and that police weren't doing anything to stop it. Just 8 minutes later, Wright ambushed her outside her SUV, firing 15 bullets into her body before fleeing the scene on her bicycle in a grotesque display of coldness. Witnesses quickly identified Wright, and Minneapolis police arrested him within hours. During questioning, he shockingly justified the murder, claiming Mariah's rejection had forced him to do it. This tragedy has since sparked outrage, exposing deep failures in the justice system. Despite clear evidence of violent assaults and repeated violations of the restraining order, police failed to forward Mariah's previous case for prosecution, allowing Wright to remain free and armed. Mariah's murder became a heartbreaking reminder that while a restraining order can offer legal protection on paper, paper cannot stop a bullet, and true safety requires action, not just words. This is her story. The sun had barely risen over Russell Avenue North in Minneapolis when the quiet Sunday morning was shattered by the kind of violence that forever scars a community. In the stillness, a scream never had the chance to escape. A plea never had the chance to be heard. By 7:53 a.m., Mariah Samuels, a vibrant 34-year-old mother, daughter, sister, and friend, lay lifeless on the cold pavement, her body riddled with bullets, while the person sworn to love her pedaled away on her bicycle as if nothing had happened. Mariah's story is not just another headline. It is a cautionary tale of how a system built to protect can sometimes act as a silent accomplice to tragedy. She was not just a victim of one man's rage. She was a victim of every ignored cry for help, every unfiled police report, every missed warning sign. On the morning of September 14th, 2025, Mariah sat on her bed, scrolling through her phone, trembling as fear gnawed at her insides. At 7:45 a.m., Mariah posted her final message on Facebook. "He's stalking me again, and the police aren't doing anything to stop it." It was a digital scream for help, a last act of defiance against a man who had terrorized her for weeks. Just 8 minutes later, she was gone. 8 minutes later. Think about that. In the time it takes to boil water or brush your teeth, a mother of two was erased from this world. Mariah had done everything society told her to do. She documented the abuse, filed police reports, obtained a restraining order, and even cut off contact. But here's the cruel irony. A restraining order is just paper, and paper can't stop a bullet. Mariah wasn't just a name in a case file. She was a woman who loved deeply and gave endlessly. She ran her own dog grooming business while working part-time at Petco. Her home was alive with the sounds of her 4 cats and 2 lizards. She lived with her father to help manage expenses and provide a stable home for her 2 sons, ages 11 and 18. Her friends described her as free-spirited, outgoing, and endlessly kind. The kind of woman who would give you the shirt off her back and still find a way to make you laugh through your darkest days. Nothing about Mariah screamed victim. She was independent, strong-willed, and building a life on her own terms, until she crossed paths with a predator named David Wright. David Wright, 50, was a man with a long and dark history of violence. He had spent 15 years in federal prison for illegal firearm possession, and two different women before Mariah had filed restraining orders against him. But predators like Wright don't come with warning labels. They charm first, then control, then destroy. Court records revealed a disturbing pattern. In 2002, Wright held a gun to his girlfriend and her 15-year-old sister. In 2020, he broke into a woman's house while she was taking a bath, stole her wallet and keys, and violated his restraining order within days. He had a signature move, using firearms not just to threaten, but to psychologically break his victims. Despite all of this, Wright was free on supervised release when he met Mariah in the summer of 2025. The system had already failed twice. Mariah would become its third and most devastating failure. At first, Wright was everything Mariah thought she wanted: attentive, affectionate, a whirlwind of love. But love bombing quickly gave way to obsession and control. By August, Mariah was suffocating under his constant calls, unannounced visits, and emotional manipulation. On August 21st, she finally ended the relationship by phone. That decision should have been her liberation, but instead it was her death sentence. That very night, Wright called her from outside her home, claiming he had a gift. When she refused to come out, the gift turned into violence. He pistol-whipped her, choked her until she lost consciousness, and threatened to blow up the house where her father was sleeping. When she awoke, bruised and terrified, Wright was gone, but his shadow lingered. On August 26th, Mariah did what every expert advises victims to do. She filed for an emergency protection order. She described Wright's assault in heartbreaking detail, noting that he had put a gun to her head and that she was extremely fearful. A judge granted the order immediately. It was served to Wright on August 27th. But instead of stopping him, it enraged him. He posted a chilling video on Facebook. "Once I like you and get attached, it's clipped. I don't care if you got a restraining order. I'm not going anywhere." Mariah followed every instruction from police, changed her routines, blocked Wright on social media, created a safety plan. But safety plans can't work when the system refuses to act. Despite clear evidence of felony assault with a deadly weapon, Minneapolis police never forwarded the case for prosecution. Their excuse? Mariah initially said she didn't want to press charges. But here's the bitter truth. In cases involving firearms and violent felons, her consent wasn't required. The state should have prosecuted Wright automatically. Instead, he remained free to plan his final attack. The night before her murder, Wright bombarded Mariah with texts, violating the restraining order yet again. At 4 a.m., the messages became relentless. Desperate and exhausted, Mariah turned to Facebook, venting her frustration and fear. Her posts were heartbreaking, filled with anger and raw truth. The police ain't doing nothing. They served him a protective order, and it's clearly not doing anything. By dawn, Wright was already outside her house, waiting, watching, planning. At 7:50 a.m., Mariah walked outside to her SUV. Perhaps she was heading to run errands, unaware that death was waiting in the shadows. Wright emerged and opened fire, unloading 15 bullets into Mariah's body. She collapsed in the street, one leg still hanging from the car door. Neighbors watched in horror as Wright calmly tried to drag her lifeless body back toward the SUV. When he couldn't, he did something so chilling, it seemed almost unreal. He took her bicycle, mounted it, and pedaled away carrying the very gun that had just ended her life. A man fleeing a murder scene on a bicycle. It was a moment of dark, grotesque irony. Within hours, Wright was identified and arrested. When detectives confronted him, he didn't deny it. Instead, he said, "Read the text messages. Then you'll understand why I killed her." He believed Mariah's rejection had justified her execution. He didn't see himself as a killer, he saw himself as the victim. Mariah's family was left shattered, grappling with grief and rage. Her sister, Simone Hunter, spoke through tears. "My sister did everything right. She didn't go back to him. She filed police reports. She should have been protected." Those words are a damning indictment of every institution that failed Mariah. Police, who never prosecuted Wright's August assault. Probation officers, who failed to monitor his access to firearms. Courts, who issued a restraining order with no plan to enforce it. Social services, who never followed up to ensure Mariah's safety. Mariah's murder raises painful questions. How can a man with 2 prior restraining orders and a federal gun conviction still get another firearm? Why was Wright free to stalk and kill, even while under supervision? And most haunting of all, if Mariah couldn't be saved, who can be? Mariah Samuels wasn't just a victim of domestic violence. She was the embodiment of every woman failed by a broken system. A reminder that a piece of paper can't stop a determined killer. Her 2 sons now live with the unbearable reality of growing up without their mother. Her father, who lived in the home she died protecting, will never see his daughter's bright smile again. Mariah's story is a stark warning. Restraining orders don't stop bullets. Systems fail, evidence is ignored, and predators exploit every loophole. Safety comes from action, not just paperwork. If you know someone trapped in a dangerous relationship, don't just offer comfort. Help them escape. Help them survive. Because the next Mariah Samuels could be someone you love, and the next David Wright is already out there, waiting. Mariah's life mattered. Her death was preventable, and her story should haunt every person who dares to believe that the system works. As Simone Hunter asked, her voice breaking under the weight of grief, "If my sister, who did everything right, couldn't be protected, then who can be?"